Thank you all for coming to the Old Speedway Neighborhood Association March meeting. We have Eloisa Garza, who is a master gardener from the Hendricks County, coming to talk to us. I looked her up and saw some other interesting things about her. She is a beekeeper and also on the board of the Indianapolis Rose Society. So she'll be joining us today just to talk about how we can make our yards look more beautiful in Speedway. Thank you very much and welcome.
Thank you for that introduction. And I do want to say hello. And first thing I want to do is thank you for asking me to join you this evening. I've been looking forward to it. I know I received a call from Barbara, and actually I was in Florida when I got that call. And I thought, I'll wait a couple of days and then I'll return the call. But what I want to talk about, well, first of all, I know that all of us are so eager to see those bulbs, tips. And with these days that we've had, all the more we're out there, looking to break through. And I really think that they have been hiding long enough. We are definitely ready for that. And I know I've seen them at my place, and I'm sure you're all have seen them at your place too. And I know that Garfield Park had just this last weekend a big garden, well, not a garden, but a show and they had lots and lots of blooms. Obviously a lot of them forced and everything else, but in that. So I know some of my gardening friends went to that and they got really excited about, okay, spring's got to get here. Today, we're seeing a little bit of the colder weather, so we know it's got a little bit time before. And with that, I do want to say, we get these little bulbs coming through, and it's not going to be long. They're going to take full bloom, and they're going to give us wonderful color. But then again, then comes the worrying. Are we going to get that one freeze that'll zap them, and there goes those beautiful, colorful blooms? Winter. I so want a real spring this year. We've had some before, and they're glorious, and they've lasted so long. But sometimes I think that winter just doesn't want to give it up, and that's why he comes in and takes a little bit away. But and let's hope summer doesn't also come in warm, hot, and again, shorten that a little bit. But anyway, with that said, we've talked a little bit about those bulbs, and that's what tells us colors coming. I have to go back a little bit. I travel back and forth a little bit, and in Indiana, this time of year is basically brown. I mean, it is. And I love to see I call it the bones of our trees, that show off how, and then they're going to be spectacular when they leaf out. But I do like seeing snow. I know a lot of people don't even want to talk about that, but I do, because it does make the landscape a little nicer, a little prettier, But it also gives us that, what I call the insulating blanket that protects what's coming, the other flowering plants that are coming. We lose a lot of them when we don't get that snow, and we only get the freezing ice and everything else. They need insulation like we do. So, but anyway, with that, I'm also going to jump over and talk a little bit about basically telling you, don't forget about shrubs and bushes. Because, again, if you're out there looking at the ground and everything else, kind of look at those, because they also are starting to bud out. They're starting to see little buds on them. And then when they burst into that beautiful spread of blooms, oh my goodness, you can see those not only in your neighborhood, but when you're driving. Like I said, when I'm driving, you can see those at a distance. Because, we have all of these other ones that come in early, but, unless you're out in Holland or somewhere where they just have fields and fields of bulbs and tulips. But those shrubs and those bushes do give us another wonderful burst of color. So, keep your eyes on that. And while you're doing that, look up. Look up to our trees. They definitely have little bulbs that are up there, budding, up there. And the limbs that are closest to the sun, to that warmth, to that sunlight, they bloom. And a lot of times, a lot of people miss it. They don't see them because they're just still really busy looking for those little on the ground. And a lot of the trees are really our first bloomers. Again, up, again, here it is, this, all you see is this skeleton of a tree. No leaves. I mean, there's no leaves or anything else, but right at the top, you can start seeing, and then they start coming back, and then the leaves start coming up and everything else. As a beekeeper, I do look up a lot because when we have these warmer days, which we had, even this weekend, my honeybees, and not only my honeybees, but a lot of the other pollinators, and also our migrating birds that are coming in, they're out, and you know what they're looking for. They're looking for food. And that is one of the places they usually can find it first most, okay? Now, our maple trees, we love our maple syrup here. Our maple trees are also some of the early ones. The bad thing is, if it gets warm, we all know that that syrup flow stops. Because as soon as that tree starts those buds and everything else, it says it wants to be fed. So it stops, and that means our maple syrup harvest might not be as good. But keep in mind, the honeybees might give you some good honey. So either way, we're fortunate here. So I think what I want to do is, as our title says, time to bloom. We do love that. And we know that after the first little burst of colors and stuff, all our other flowering plants are going to come in too. It takes them a little longer, but you'll start seeing them. So I think what we need to do is a little bit on that second part. Let's get ready. And when I say let's get ready, I want to say let's prepare, not only in excitement. I know I'm excited now that spring is so close. I'm hoping you guys are all excited about too, but maybe with a little bit of knowledge. The knowledge of what makes this happen, and the fact that we know, Mother Nature plays a big part in it, but do not underestimate your important role, and you must take that role that you also could and will and should make it happen too. And I think a lot of times, let's put it this way. It seems like the last couple of years, last year and the year before, and definitely starting into this year, there has been lots and lots of talk. There's a lot of talk, and the topic is soil. And soil and the importance of soil. So I kind of want to start with that. And let's talk a little bit about soil and the importance of that. When I've gone to different garden clubs, they've had speakers, and the topic is soil, only soil. I'm not going to just stay on soil. We'll talk about a few other things, but the Rose Society, we had somebody come out and talk about soil a couple of years ago, and then he was from the Soil and Water Conservation. But then we also, just a couple of weeks ago through Zoom, we also had somebody else talk about just soil, because it is important for all, I call them substrates, basically all our plants, all our trees, shrubs, bushes, native plants, plants we buy at the nursing garden stores and bring in and plant. Where do they go if they not go into soil? And even if you only do container gardening, that soil is important. You know, you read the bag if you buy it, and you kind of say, okay, what's in it and everything else. That way you know what's in it, because then if something's missing for that particular plant, then you can add to that. Or you don't buy that because it has too much of what that particular plant that you love and want doesn't need, doesn't require. Well, the same thing is happening in the soil. So one of the first questions that usually you get asked is pH. I want to know what the pH in my soil, my ground is. You know, is it alkaline or is it acidic? That's one of the things that a lot of people, that's a good place to start. I'm not saying don't, but I think nutrition should be more concern. It's definitely more a concern for me. And the way I want to kind of put it into a little bit is like you take flowering plants. Flowering plants usually like it slightly at 5.5, most of them. Again, we're talking about various different flowers, plants. So they might be a little different, but most of them, it's at 5.5. But turn around and talk about veggie plants, talk about vegetable plants. They definitely are much happier and a bit higher. They want it to be 6 to 7, and they'll perform much better that way. To kind of bring that point around, let's talk about use the plant tomato, because that's already been mentioned earlier today. I mean, I know everybody lights up. The smiles on your faces is like, okay, let's talk about the tomato plants. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that, but let me tell you a quick story. I am not originally from here, but I've been living here for a long, long time. So when I did move here, it didn't take long to find out that folks in Indiana are obsessed with 2 round things. Yep. The first thing I found out was because, you know, winter and spring, and that's when I kind of moved in here, that winter. The first thing I found out, it's all about that orange ball. It's called basketball. It's all about that. From little kids in the neighborhood all the way to college to, obviously, you know, we have the Pacers here and we have the Fever here. But anyway, then comes warmer weather, which means summer, and then it becomes all about that other round thing, the red tomato. And it's mostly, yes, the red tomato. I know we have all different colored tomatoes, but then it becomes that red tomato. I mean, you guys just cannot wait. The first thing you're saying is, I can't wait to bite into my first tomato. I want to buy plants now. I mean, right now in March, you're ready. You can't plant them right now out there, but by darn it, you're already asking, you're calling, you know, I need that plant. I think it's fantastic. So let me get back to that little tomato. If you have a pH of 4.8 where you're planting them, they're underdeveloped. They'll be underdeveloped. They just won't develop very well at all. But then you take and you put that plant or plants in soil that has 6, pH of 6. Now you're talking, and you will receive fruit that is very well developed. You're going to get big tomatoes. Maybe not big, but you're going to get big tomatoes, and you're going to have a good yield. The plant will be very healthy, and you're going to be happy about it. The thing about pH, it affects the nutrition uptake. It is requires some requirements that make for a successful garden. In some of them, you can see sunlight, right? pH, you can't see it. You cannot see pH. It's kind of like an obstruction that's hidden. It's buried in that soil. So the only way to kind of bring that out and let you know what that is to have certain tests done. And one of them is you can gather some up, send it off to the lab, and they'll bring back all of, not only that, but it also give you some of the nutrition and minerals, other things that are in there, which is really good, at a cost. And there are fewer places that you can send these off to. And then there's a lot of home kits that you can buy, and some of them are pretty reliable. They might not give you the full list of what's in there, like the lab is going to, but at least it'll give you a good idea, and that might be just enough. Barbara sent me over, she sent me over that she had seen, because we see a lot of stuff out and, floating around YouTube and everything else. I don't know if I'm going to get it right. She sent me the formula and everything, and of course she says, okay, is there truth to this and everything? I thought, well, there's only one way to find out. I'm going to do it. But I waited too long, and it started raining yesterday, and it stopped. And this test I know won't work if I have a clogged wet dirt, but the soil, and you're using vinegar and baking soda to achieve this test. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to see if it does work, and I'm going to forward that back to Barbara. Maybe some of you will do it also and see, maybe we'll compare notes and see if there's any truth to that. But I'm sure there's other ways of testing soil too. But anyway, those are the three. So let's kind of get back to, how do I say it? Let's get back to nutrition, because that's what we wanted to talk. So soil is really complex. It's made up of vitamins, minerals, organic matter, organisms, and air. And guess what, folks? Humans, we need vitamins, we need minerals. Organic matter, let's call them organic plants. Fruit and vegetables, as much as you can get organically. I mean, that's good. Organisms, we got them in our system. It helps us. And then air. So nutrition is important, don't you? I mean, you have to, at this point, realize that. I know I do. I'm not going to go into a lot in there, but I am going to go a little bit into soil biodiversity. And I'm going to talk about it and let you know that it affects a lot of living organisms. Again, some of these organisms that are in the soil are not visual to our naked eye. Fungi, bacteria, I mean, you really, you can't see that, go digging around, you can't see that. But what you can see is things like earthworms, fantastic. Grubs, I know, in the lawn, don't want them, but grubs are good. Also, things like termites, and the list kind of goes on with the ones that you can see and the ones that are invisible to you. But it's really important to our ecosystem. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that as a breakdown. And the breakdown we'll talk a little bit about. I won't go into great detail. But again, just want to talk that, if you want to get ready, some of the things it's already happening. But you still have an opportunity to jump in there and maybe amend that soil a little bit more. And there's different ways. So anyway, why it's so important in our ecosystem is root systems. So here we have the soil supports root systems. Again, all substrates. Trees, bushes, shrubs, all are flowering plants, and even the lawns. They have to have a root system, and that's how they get this nutrition that we're talking about. That's how they're going to get, water. So that is one of them that's really important for. And the other one, since I mentioned water, it stores water. The soil, you want it to store water for as long as you're able to. You don't want it, to be sitting in, how do I say, deep water, but you need it to be in the soil. So again, the root system can bring that water into the tree and feed it. Then you also want, how do I say this? There's a protection of soil erosion. So here we are, we have soil. We're working to make the soil, be as best as it can be for our plants. And then if we're not careful, we get that erosion. And it might not happen as much as in your garden, but we know it's happening all around us, more and more so. Soil, if you did a soil, how do I say it, a soil profile, you'll have and you go down, you go down the line all the way down. You start out with soil, and soil really, the first 3 inches is what's the most valuable. Yeah, I know trees need more than 3 inches, but really, what is the most important is in that 3 inches. As we start doing better of amending, it gets a little bit deeper. But at one point, you're not going to have that much living down here, although it's being proved that if you don't disturb that soil in any form or fashion, or you'll find life even deeper. You just cut into it and you'll find it there. And I think that's amazing. But unfortunately, we, disturb that soil quite a bit in different ways. So then the other one is, believe it or not, there's weed control. This also can occur. And we know that if you have healthy plants, they seem to kind of keep the weeds from coming through. And then we also put down different mulches to kind of keep the weeds down. And then if you put down the different good mulches, they'll decompose, and that actually adds more to the soil, which is really important. And then we have temperature modification. Not going to talk about climate change, folks. Not going to go there. But plants, our substrates definitely control temperature, and it's really important. We all know how important it is in trees. The tree is truly the workhorse of maintaining temperature. And we're losing a lot of trees. But if we also pay attention to shrubs, bushes, and all the other plants that are growing, that includes our native plants for sure, definitely. And again, your plants there, they too add to keeping that temperature controlled. And I think that's why it's just as important for homeowners to continue planting whatever type of gardening you like doing, whatever you're able to do in your own yard, in your own neighborhood. I went to I went driving around the neighborhood in Speedway, and I do sometimes because I have other things I do here. And so when I'm going to mention neighborhood, yes, I'm going to talk about the Speedway neighborhood. And you know what, guys, it's looking really good. I know there's a lot of other development going on and everything else, but just going in through the side streets and little neighborhoods and stuff, I mean, it looks really nice. But I have also noticed that we've lost some trees here. I'm sure some of it. I don't live here. I go through here. I have some people that are part. I know that sometimes if you have an older neighborhood, some of those trees just have gotten old, and you're either going to have to take it down or it itself is going to be taken down. So I know that's some of the reasons we lost some trees. But anyway, we have newer developments going in, and if you go out west and north and south and everywhere else, and those developments, first of all, we know they strip a lot of that 3-inch soil. It goes away. But I wish they would bring it back and give it to you. I mean, you kind of paid for it. But they're not going to do that because you have to go buy it and bring it back yourself. But anyway, it's kind of like one tree. They just put one tree up. And oh my gosh, I'm thinking to myself, trees help cool your homes. It helps cool you. It adds beauty, all of these things. And right now, actually right now, is the time you should feed your tree. And the reason for it, you want to do it before the days actually get warmer. And you spread it around evenly. And right now with the moisture and, winter, the ground in a lot of places is still frozen. It's not completely thawed out. So, you'd get the heave and hoving that we know we get through temperature change. And then this fertilizer that you pick to put on there starts to work itself down. You folks might know this, but there might be some folks that don't. Don't buy the stakes and put it right next to the tree, okay? When you buy your fertilizer and you're going to spread it, you want to do 1.5 times the perimeter. In other words, look at that wingspan of the branches. It's got to be out there, because guess what? The roots are out there. They're not here anymore. They're out there, and that's what you want to feed, and you want to do it now. Let me see if I can. Potassium is easy for me to pronounce. Phosphorus is not so easy for me to pronounce, but I think most of you know what that is. Those are really important for all our living plants, actually, but especially for trees. Trees are essential. They are essential for a few of the things I've already mentioned, but mostly also for the bees. I love the honeybees, all our pollinators, all our birds, lots and lots of insects. And again, lots of people says, I don't want those insects, can't have them. But at the end of the same sentence, you're telling me, but I love the birds. I want them in my yard. Birds eat insects. That's just it, So we have to have them, and we have to provide that habitat to bring those insects in. If birds can't feed on insects, they're going to die. We're definitely losing a lot of them because I mentioned housing developments. That's one of them. But we also have other land developments going on. We have a lot of warehousing now that has just gone berserk. That's eliminating so much of places that we would have trees. Towns are expanding. Downtown is expanding. I know they try to put trees here and there, and that's good. It's not enough. We need to try to keep our trees. Again, when I say the neighborhood, not only this neighborhood, but all neighborhoods. If you're losing trees, ask yourself, what's going on? Are we doing it because of a safety? Are we doing it because of disease? Because I know we've had a lot of disease come through, and you go out into the woods areas and our ash trees, they're just boom, boom, boom. And the ones that aren't, they will eventually, they'll die if we're not cutting them down, and other things like that. So we know we've lost some of that to farming. They've expanded. And that's fine, because we do need to feed ourselves. But now we're losing farming to land development. So we're down too. We're down our substrates, our trees, our plants, our beautiful flowers, our blooms, and we're kind of out of getting food, because we don't have that farmland. I'm not here to beat any of that down. I understand some of this, but also I think if we have a better understanding of how this is happening, it affects your neighborhood. We know it does. I keep saying we know it does. I have a lot to learn about what's really going on. I look at, let me just go through a list quickly. And I'm not going to, I know I'm not just all about the trees, but right now I think it's really important. Trees provide us oxygen. So guess what? If we can't breathe, we die too. So, they increase property values. So one tree in your new home, you really should plant more. I know our lots get a little smaller and everything else. I know we get busy. I know that careers are in place. I know the children, the families, and everything else. But those trees are going to help entertain your family. You know, that's part of it. Flowers. You can't do trees, shrubs, bushes. Flowering shrubs, I just said it earlier. Not only do they give you that color, that bloom, they give you fragrance. Some of them do, and that's fantastic. Oh my gosh. The lilacs, when they go in, they're short-lived, but I mean, really? It's fantastic. So look at planting those instead. They don't get, shrubs definitely don't get near as tall. You can kind of prune them down a little bit. They might get a little wider, but again, you prune them down. Some of the bushes that are replacing some of those trees, both shrubs and bushes, there's a lot of them that provide food for our birds. We love them, and all the other pollinators, all our different kinds of honeybees and bees, and some of that fruit for us also, which is really nice. So if you want to increase your property value, trees are one way to do it. If you can't, look at shrubs or look at bushes and plant them instead. Then we have trees help prevent that soil erosion that we talked about a little bit. So does a lot of the other plants, but trees are really important. It slows down the water runoff that we all have heard about. It reduces noise population. We have all this warehousing now, and we have the airport, all essential. I know it all is, but it's gotten noisier. It just boom, boom, boom. So I'm going to say this, but I only say it once. Trees do combat climate change, or I could call it temperature modification. I think I'm going to start using that more. You get further in a conversation if you use temperature modification, because they're like, what are you talking? And then all of a sudden you get into it, it's like, oh, that's what we're talking about. But we have to have those conversations. Provides habitat for our wildlife. We are losing so much of our wildlife. And I'm not just talking about our pollinators and our birds, but also, squirrels and smaller little rodents. They're all part of it, Wildlife habitat is usually, when anything is starting to decline, I get asked that question, about honeybees. They think, the first thing is, pesticides. The farmers need to quit doing that. The homeowners quit spraying that. That's really not number one, habitat. And habitat usually is what starts causing that decline. It definitely, we see it. It started showing in us. We're losing habitat, and what is happening, we see it more. People, they just don't have places to live. So it cools the streets in the cities, and I guess that's they put a few trees here and there to try to help that. But some of them really do, and I like that some of them have, brought up more parks and have planted a little bit more. They say that it helps the UV rays, coming through instead of just hitting you straight on. They diffuse all of that. Some of them provide medicine. Again, don't want to get to that. We know a lot of them provide us food. Fruit is one of the biggest one. And they do create economic opportunities. We use trees. We use the wood. We can replant. Got more wood to use. Makes good sense. It really does. To me, I try to do the best I can. I know that sometimes we all fall short, and that's okay. But if we really want to see our neighborhoods beautified more, take care of your soil. What do you plan on replanting trees around here? And again, I use the word neighborhood referring to you, but also to other neighborhoods, that if they don't have them because of disease, or they may cut down, or they're invasive. We do have some trees here that, oh my gosh, they need to be cut down. Again, don't want to go there. We want to keep this all kind of nice and lively. So I guess at this point, I really maybe take time out and says, what are your thoughts? Please talk to me, or let's talk to each other. Are you looking to have more like, okay, I really wanted for you to tell me what I should be planting to make my yard look prettier. It's your preference. It truly is. There's some wonderful plants out there. If nothing more, look at that flower shrub for the color you want. If that's, said, I don't know what I want to plant. What's your favorite color? And go out and try to find that and plant that. Bear in mind, read the tag, know what the maintenance is going to be. Some have a little higher maintenance and some lower, just like dogs, cats, and kids, So it's the other one, vegetable gardening. If you want to, it's easy to do vegetable gardening in a small space. I mean, really, it truly is. I would definitely take a look at that soil. If you're not really sure there's any really good soil, because maybe there's nothing growing there now, that might be a good indication. Bring in a little bit of soil, and then start from there too. But anyway, if you'd like to ask me any, okay.
I got somebody who on live stream asked a question. So the question was, we planted trees last fall, and you did talk about this. What is the best fertilizer for the trees? Like you said, feed the trees, but you said potassium and phosphate. She said she has an Austrian pine and a crabapple.
Austrian pine. Pines around here, they're not real native. I know there's a few that are. I don't know if that would work for that pine tree. Crabapple, absolutely. Okay. But I really don't know about that. She might have to, punch it up a little bit.
But the idea, like you said, I didn't even think about that too. So you said to look at the farthest of the branches and then go like twice as much out of that?
At least
or half time.
At least 1.5.
1.5.
Which really isn't too much, but it does, because the roots are further out than usually your branches. Now if you say, oh my gosh, the tree is huge, it's got to eat. And you can feed it. So that means it might cost you a little bit more, but it doesn't take very much, but now is the time. I mean, you really should get out there and spread a little bit of that, and you're done. Nature does the rest of it for you.
The other question she had said about too is just maybe like the thoughts about the chemical treatment of lawns. Is there maybe a healthier or a better way to treat lawns so that we still, like you said, have the fertilizer and not be like killing anything that actually still needs to be used, like lawns or grasses.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I know how important lawns are to a lot of folks. What you're trying to do is find grass that has a deeper root system, because grass, I mean, their root system, because they kind of go out, and that's they require so much water to stay green. A lot of times people that have lawns, not all, but some, first thing they want to do is put nitrogen down. That means growth right away, right? That means you got to water a little bit more, and it definitely means you got to mow more. Cut back on that. Don't water as often, it gets stronger. So it goes deeper in searching for that water, and it's going to be there. So if you start kind of acclimating that into your lawn, it's going to get healthier, and you're not going to have to use any pesticides, because then you have a healthy lawn that will just say no to the weeds. We're here. It's ours. It's my turf. There you go. So I would love, since she brought out pesticides, I really would love that people would read how. You don't have to put tons down. It's costing you a lot of money. You don't have to do it regularly, If you have to, do it if you have to. to save some of the kill off of our insects and birds, and little small children. No, no. If you do that really early in the morning or really late at night, they're not out flying as much. Now, there are other pollinators like, the bats. They're a pollinator, and they pollinate a lot of your plants that kind of do their thing at night. So they probably won't even, lawns, no. I tell my bees, don't go in the lawn, because there ain't nothing there. Now they tell their generations, don't bother, get over here. Actually, honeybees and a few other of the bee pollinators, color is a big attraction to them. So all the more reason to have color in your yards. And if they're on your plant, you can still go in and cut flowers, because usually you do that, your blooms, to make your arrangements, you usually do it early in the morning, right? Honeybees, they don't get up that early. They don't. I'm serious. So there you go. We're kind of back to that. What I was going to say, if you have to do it, pick those times, and at least you decrease that. I don't like the spray for mosquitoes. It's not formulated just to attack a mosquito. It does kill a lot of other things. Again, we kind of get into the habit of, oh my gosh, it works, let's do it more often. It works, let's do it, let's add more, So read your instructions to the pesticides as you are using. And it's going to save you a lot of money. Same thing like when you fertilize. Don't over-fertilize, because it's just creating, you're spending money with fertilizer and then having to cut it more often. Or water it. You have to pay your water bill. Any more questions?
Sorry, my question was, I love Queen's Anne lace. And I know people think it's a weed, but I wonder if there's a good way to figure out, first off, if it is maybe what kind of pH, or can you grow it at all, or is it just goes naturally?
It goes naturally, and that's, I think, one of the reasons that it's a little aggressive. I don't really know that it's on the invasive list yet, but it does go naturally. I would just look at feeding it just like you would some of your other flowers or small bushes like that.
I've only just seen it on the side of the road, so
Yeah.
I wonder if I could start it as a pot, possibly, and then grow it.
I don't know. Maybe somebody else. Does anybody know?
I know if I start growing Queen's Anne lace, then the whole neighborhood will enjoy Queen's Anne lace as well. Yeah. So I wonder too.
That's why I said it naturally, and it's going to, So what? You're going to set out a bunch of pots and hope they land in there? And I don't know.
Okay.
I really don't. Yeah, right. Okay. It's a good question though, and maybe something I would like to find out a little bit about too. I'll look it up also. How about here? Any more? Yes.
Is there any kind of a natural deterrent to keep the rabbits from eating my flowers?
We have a lot of rabbits in
doing this
Speedway.
spray.
That's.
Kill the bunnies.
I know. It is definitely a question that's asked a lot. There's a couple of things. Bunnies like tenders. When some of your little bulbs that are coming up, your little tips, tulips especially, they like tenders. So if you can kind of protect that until they get just a little bit bigger, they don't really want anything to do with it. The other thing, so that's one of the things. They're like everything else. They're looking for food. Coming out of winter, there just isn't a whole lot really, and they see those little tenders or whatever, and they're thinking, and they're going to go. Some of them will survive. Some of your flowers, they will, or if they get eaten up, they'll still regrow. It's going to take them a little bit longer. I know I've asked that question to a lot of master gardeners too, and they the one thing they say that seems to work the best is like anything human hair, human guy thing.
So like the smell of like humans is going to keep the rabbits.
Well, yeah. So a lot of master gardeners basically said that, a little bit of urine goes a long ways. I live out 10 acres. I can't worry about it, So, I just know. And so, plant more. I don't have,
We planted 6 sunflowers, which
Really?
are tall. But honestly, one night came up after dark, and that's when they're out there, and it was on its hind legs. And
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And did not get scared when I turned it around.
You know that's
Pet
true.
bunny or what?
Some of those bunnies, they say, are pretty like, I'm going to eat this, right? Yeah.
Well, since our dog died, our dog was killing them all the time. The dog died.
I know that they sell a lot of repellents,
Yeah.
that for rabbits and things like that.
I hate the chemicals. So.
I know, yeah. Again, I know for sure that a lot of times, except what you're talking about, after those little tenders, and then usually they go off, and by that time, there's a lot of other stuff, and they're out there munching on those, but,
Clover. They like clover
yeah,
a lot.
yeah.
Ate my hyacinths.
Tammy was very true about clover, because there's a lot of clover in my yard.
Along the trail where all those woods have all those critters.
They like to dig, so a lot of times they're not eating, but because they're digging, your bulbs, what the heck, the bulbs are all up on top and you have to go rebear them. They don't want to eat them, but they like to dig a lot. So sometimes that is also a big problem. So again, I just say if there's any way you can kind of, and I know it can't be all, yes.
I was going to ask, do you know anything about, I have a lilac tree outside my window, which is, when it's in bloom, look.
Wow.
But we've gone now 2 seasons, and I think we're going to go 3. It already started to bud over the weekend. Now it's going to be -5 come Saturday. So my hopes are that I'm going to lose it again, do you think?
There's no way do you think there's any way, most of your buds down low because you cut the old wood, so it's not real high?
It's as high as the roof.
Okay,
It's a big tree.
yeah. You can't cover it.
Yeah,
You know.
but if I could cover the lower ones, I could
Yeah,
save them.
I would definitely do that and give it a good chance that at least you'll have the lower ones. I will, if you're able to, definitely.
Because I had fragrance, they bloomed out last year.
Yeah.
They were like not lavender, they were like a brownie color.
Oh.
I had fragrance for 2 days. I would love to see them in bloom.
Yes, yes, right, a little bit longer and stuff, but yeah, I would, if you can, it's definitely worth a try.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's the best way to cover them? Is it just fabric or? Okay,
yeah.
like a bed sheet?
My sister put a sheet over hers.
I don't recommend plastic.
Clothespins.
I don't recommend plastic at all, but, burlap, a little bit tighter weaved, but burlap and fabric sheets, other plants, you can invert pots and put it on top and things like that. I have tons of extra larger pots because some things I don't want to not, so I'll go out there and throw them on there. That works really good, but, for trees and shrubs, it's a little bit harder to that, but you'll have to do the cloth, is usually your best bet. I know, yeah. I know, so we're back to that thing that we're so eager to have spring, and spring is really wanting to, with the warmer days, I want up. Our winter really wasn't, I know, some of you are going to say, yeah, it was cold. It really wasn't severe, so, so there's the good and the bad about that. So let's hope we don't get that. The last couple of seasons, we've had a really late freeze, and boy, has it hurt. Yeah, I'm hoping that's not going to happen. We all always hopeful for that. Any more questions or thoughts, or just jump in there, folks? Okay.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
we're just going to take a couple of minutes and we're going to move into our general meeting. If you guys are available to stay, that'd be great. If you haven't gotten, I had a couple of copies of the general meeting agenda, but if you don't have it, then I can always send you a copy if you need it. So first off, just wanted to make sure I allow any sort of like community announcements. So I do know we have some information about the Sparks Pantry. So I'm gonna have Cheryl come up and talk about that. That's okay? Thank you so much.
So there is a group in town from a couple different churches, and Robin Emerson from Speedway Cares, we've sort of come together to support Sparky's Food Pantry. It is at Speedway High School, and it started off very, very low-key. They were serving 25 families, went up to 50 families. They are currently serving 175 Speedway families every month. Yes, I was surprised at that number as well, and we are anticipating it to continue to grow. So the teacher, Mrs. Wilkerson, she's the special ed teacher there, so her students run the pantry, which is an amazing program for them because they are taking the orders off the internet, they're assembling the boxes for the food, they're scheduling it with the families, and then they're taking it out to them. So this is completely student-led. It's part of their curriculum. So it's an amazing program that's teaching them leadership skills, teamwork, and giving them great confidence. So they have been getting food deliveries, kind of hit or miss from Gleaners and Midwest Food Bank, but they may get like a skid of pasta and no sauce. So it's a lot of really weird things to try and put meals together for families. So they put together a list of specific things that they were looking for. So we are going to do a food drive, a couple different ways. And I'll have some flyers in the back, and I think Jillian shared it on Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff, and I'll leave copies at the back too. Specific things that they're looking for to help, that we really want to beef up their pantry before spring break and definitely get it fully stocked before summer lets out for the kiddos. So like the week of March 7th through the 12th, Robin Emerson is going to be at her office at Corporate Square West. You can just take it over, the food items, any time, business hours that she's there. But then on Saturday, March 19th, we're going to do a drive-through food drive at Speedway United Methodist Church. You just drive through the parking lot. Will be kiddos there. The kids that run the pantry will be there. They'll take the food, thank you very much, and then they'll just load it into our cars and we'll take it to the high school from there. The other thing that we're doing on the 19th is that the pantry is getting a cold refrigerator, chiller, so that they will be able to have fresh milk, eggs, and cheese on hand to be able to give out to the families as well. So rather than trying to get milk and eggs and cheese, she's going to be taking cash donations that day, so that she can, number one, have cash on hand. So if something strange should come up, a family has a unique need that she may not have, she'll have the cash on hand available to go help those families. She does not get any of our tax dollars from the school. She's completely standalone on this, so she doesn't get referendum money, nothing. This is completely brand new, and she's separate from the school. So just wanted to let you know that that was a thing and that there is a need. And I know that that's one of the things that Speedway does best, is kind of take care of our own. So wanted to let you know that opportunity. Thank you.
If you can, on the back side, we have our minutes from January and February. So I'm just going to share that with you as well. And then we'll just kind of go on with some information we have. We do have our program available for April. Jason Van Sykel, who's actually one of our board members, is going to be presenting about the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum with some new exhibits that'll be coming out. So please join us for April. And then I was going to double check and ask Barb if you have our financial report and our membership number.
Okay, at this time, we still have 31 members,
Okay.
and we have $2,913.50 in the bank.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
We never did.
31. 31? It was good for, beginning of March. I did have an opportunity to go to the Lions Pancake Breakfast, and I got to talk to a lot of people. So hopefully that'll be a way to kind of get out and kind of share our membership. There's a couple of other events that are happening that I can always have a table at. We did want to make sure that we shared all of our member discounts as well. So yeah, last month I forgot to put Leo's Barber, so he's on there. And as the year goes on, if we get any more businesses sharing any discounts with us, then we'll definitely share that with you guys either on our website or at our meetings. But we have a lot of our main street businesses that are still offering us those discounts. So it is a great reason why to join the Neighborhood Association, besides getting some really amazing informative programs that we offer for you. Things to keep in mind too for our community organizations, the Spark Pantry is looking for donations, and there's a couple of different opportunities. Scholarships for Speedway is also going on this week. So I don't know if you've gotten a phone call or a letter, but we do. Our school system is really important to us as a neighborhood association and also just as a town. So any way to support the schools, it would be appreciating. And then also our Speedway Arts Council still has opportunities to buy local artists. They are having artwork sold at the Spark and the Founders Grounds, which actually I guess got an award as one of the best new coffee shops, which is great for us. And hopefully we can get a chance to maybe get a discount from Founders Grounds. We do have it for the Spark. They're giving us 15% off any drink or pastry item. Other things to keep in mind, March 10th, the State of Town is having their address at 6:30. I do know that the building is going to be open early, and they're going to be able to do sort of like tours and sort of like show people off the building, but we are starting at 6:30. Grant Klein Hens, who's our town manager, will be starting that at 6:30. And then the town council meeting is at 7 on March 14th. So I just want to open it up to anyone else if there's any other information about any of our other community organizations or anything to know for our neighborhood association. I appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
I just got a notice from the town today about Tim Groff.
Oh, yeah.
Has resigned.
I did see that he evidently is going to be the town manager for McCordsville, which is great for him. But it is something to kind of keep in mind, too, then that they probably will be looking for a new manager for the SRC. Yep. I got to think about that sometimes. And then we did have Grant come talk to us in January. And so as a town manager, he seems very open and very open for discussion. I know he was having a couple of coffee talks at at Grounders Coffee and is at the Spark. One of the things I know that they really have been reaching out to a lot of people is about what's going on with our water, having to finance and re-update the water system. And so I know that he's had a lot of talks. Did you ever figure out what happened with that neighborhood?
Yeah, I asked the question at the Lions, I ran into our town clerk.
Okay.
And I asked him, I said, about the water bill, does Farley Addition, since they use our water, do they share in this increase in the bill? And his answer was that they are only on the wastewater system.
Okay.
So, and they pay 1.5 times, they pay like a little bit more because it's an external use or something like that, so.
Okay. All right. I mean, it's something to be aware of. Just, they have talked about the town councils, like why they need to. And so if anybody has concerns about what's going on with their water bill, then I know Grant and the town clerk are very open to sharing what's going on. So that's nice to know. And then also too, just, being aware of just like we are trying to have our in-person meetings, but once again, we always get live streamed as well. So if you aren't able to come in person to always watch all of our information meetings, and our Brian Pierce, who is in charge of the Speedway Community Channel YouTube, has always been really nice to offer links and then just kind of keep everybody informed about how to watch our meetings as well. If you do have any questions or anything that you do want to ask of the board, our next board meeting is March 21st. We have been doing it on Zoom, so if you would like to join on Zoom, you're more than welcome to email me, and I can add you as an invite. I guess hopefully we'll try to start doing that in person too. We couldn't do it last February because it was President's Day and everything was closed. I kind of forgot about that. So that's why we did have to do a Zoom meeting. And then, of course, once again, April 4th will be our next journal meeting. But thank you all for attending, and thank you so much for the information. I'm really looking forward to maybe getting the Queen's Anne lace, or maybe not, and trying to find something that all of my neighbors would like to have. But thank you so very much. Meeting adjourned.